I'm Steve Wallace. I'm 65 years old. I was born in Washington, D.C., and I'm the oldest of 4 children, all born on Air Force bases. Dad spent 20 years in the Air Force, retired with the Air Force, went on to the Monterey County Sheriff's Department as a deputy, retired with them, and then did several odd jobs just to stay busy. Growing up, being that he was in the military, he was not home a lot. And because of that, the argument between my mom and dad was that my dad was not a good father. And I would agree that he was probably not a great father figure or father image. But later in life, and it's the thing I miss about him the most right now, is that he was a great friend. He was a confidant. You could talk to him, and he would never say, "You have to do it this way." He would look at you and go, "Have you thought about it from this perspective? What's your contingency plan? If that doesn't work, what are you going to do next?" So, my mom was more the disciplinarian. We never heard that, "Well, wait till your dad gets home" talk. It was done before dad ever got home. My mom was an abusive person. I grew up in the days where if you went to school with bruises, nobody said, "Well, who beat you?" They just went, "What happened?" I remember going to school one day, my face was so bruised that they asked me what happened, and I said, "A swing hit me." Mom was not one to spare the rod. My brother had we had a shared experience where, I want to say it was in the winter time. It was snowing. It was in Oklahoma, snowing. It was around Christmas, and my mom, being a single parent, had gotten fruit and stuff to put in the stockings. And my brother and I decided that, why wait till Christmas? Let's eat it. Well, the next thing I knew, we were sitting on the curb waiting for the orphanage truck to come pick us up. And the neighbors came over and said, "What are you doing sitting in the cold?" And my brother and I just said, "We're waiting for the orphanage truck." They said, "Well, why don't you go back in the house?" I said, "No, we're going to wait for that orphanage truck." We knew that if we got adopted, we'd be better off than what we were getting at home. So I went to vocational school when I was in high school. Did 3 hours a day at the vocational school, drafting. I helped design 3 different houses and had them built. And so I was going to go to Oklahoma State University in Stillwater and become an architect. God had a different plan. And I went down to the recruiter and I went to join the Marines. And this gunny sergeant came in and he was 4-0. I mean, his hair is shorter than mine was. I mean, he was slick-sided, 4-0 squared away. And he said, "We're going to make a man out of you." And I went, "Nope, I'm going next door and join the Navy." Which upset my dad because being Air Force, he thought I'd go Air Force, and I went Navy. So I had a choice of equipment operator, construction mechanic, aircrew survival equipment, and I thought, wow, packing parachutes and getting to jump out of planes. And the last choice was boiler technician. And I said, that's the last thing I want to do. I've seen those movies where the guys are down there grunting and filthy and sweaty, and no, I don't want to do that. And my company commander in boot camp said, "You're going to BTA school." And I said, "How do you know?" He says, "Because nobody likes that job. And that's where the most people go." My greatest regret was that I thought I was 10 foot tall and bulletproof. When my last month in Vietnam, because when I got out of A school, they sent me to my ship, and my ship was in Western Pacific, basically Vietnam. I met the ship over there, and our last week, we got relieved early, 24 hours early, by the USS Goldsboro. And we went to plane guard some aircraft carrier before going to Yokosuka and then coming home. When we got to Yokosuka, the Goldsboro was already sitting there at the pier. We're like, wait a minute, they just relieved us. us. Well, they had taken a round, and when I went over to the Goldsboro and looked where they had actually taken the hit, the round went through what would have been my bunk. I was arrogant. I said, see, they couldn't get me. And from that point on, I was the Mikey. You got something dangerous you want to see done? I'll do it. I must have tried to commit suicide a dozen times, but not like pulling a gun or taking pills or anything like that. Just doing crazy stuff that should have killed me, that didn't. But I realize now that the reason I survived all those things wasn't because I was 10 foot tall and bulletproof, because someone else had a plan for me. I'm still searching to figure out what that plan is, but I know the reason I'm around is because it wasn't a lot of people say, well, it wasn't my time. Well, who determines what your time is? I believe it's God. God determines when your time is. My time was not then, and He did things to ensure that I made it past that time. But that's retrospectively, looking back. I remember seeing pictures as a kid of us dressed up for Easter, going to church. I don't remember going to church. That's why, you talk about your earliest memories. I don't have a memory of going to church until my mom and dad separated and divorced. And then my mom got religious. Not religious, religious. We must have gone to every church, every denomination. We started out in the Baptist church, went to the Christian church, Church of the Nazarene, Presbyterian church, Lutheran, Methodist, you name a church, we went to it. Somebody would get in a disagreement with my mom, or my mom would get in a disagreement with them, and another church. I was probably a great student of the Bible, just like a college student. What do I need to know to pass the test? Okay, I got that verse down. I got it. What does it mean? I don't know. I don't care. I got it down. I'll pass the test. So my first child came in my second marriage. My first marriage, I married a friend. Basically, the same reason I got married was the same reason I got baptized. Everybody else is doing it. I was in a Sunday school class and everybody was getting baptized, and it was like, well, why shouldn't I? Everybody else is. Did I really have the knowledge or the meaning of why I was baptized? Nope. But I followed right along with it was like lambs go to the pool. Dunk, you're baptized. Next, you're baptized. Next. Why? I don't know. Marriage the first time, all my friends were getting married. I got a lady that said she'll marry me. Let's get married. 7 years later, we're like, why did we do this? Then I married my second wife, and we had Amber. We have Amber and Brianna, 2 girls. I was what I call a cheester. Christmas and Easter. Those are the only times I needed to go to church, because all those denominations I'd been through, all of them had rituals and stuff that you had to go through this is what we do in this church, but we don't do that in this church, we do this, we don't do this, and I got fed up with it, and the only reason I went to Christmas and Easter was because I had kids, and I thought it was the right thing to do. Both my daughters have been married and are divorced. Mm-hmm. And my oldest daughter went into a marriage thinking she could change her husband. He was an alcoholic and basically had an addiction problem, and she thought she could change that. And she found out that she couldn't. She said, if Mr. Right comes along, I'll know. So probably I'm the most proud of her for that. She's on her own. She's wise. She's learned things about herself that I wished I'd have known about myself at that time. I wish if they were to marry somebody like their father, I wish they'd marry somebody like me now, not somebody like I was in my 20s and 30s. She called me up one day and she said, Dad, Easter's coming up. You want to go to church with us? And I'm like, oh, it's Easter. I got to go to church with you. Okay, I'll come. Well, something about the message hit me that Sunday. I don't know what it was, but have you ever been sitting in a room and you sit there and we're talking a large church. There's probably 2,000 people in there on Easter Sunday. And I felt like the pastor was going, Steve, I'm talking to you. It was like there was no one else in the room other than he and I. And the conversation was between he and I. So I called my daughter up about Wednesday of the following week and I said, hey, can I meet you at church this week? And her comment was, Dad, it's not a holiday. I know. Can we meet at church? She said, sure. And basically I've been going to church ever since. Maybe I'm a slow learner, but I was 59 before I actually got into going into the Bible and actually trying to understand what the Word said. I just wish what would have happened 7 years ago would have happened 20 years ago. And what happened was I had a motorcycle accident. And the Arizona DPS officer that called the hospital said, I just want to let you know that the last 10 people I picked up on that section of road were riding donor cycles. They didn't make it. Why you made it, I don't know. But it really started a reflection that I wished had happened 20 years earlier, where somebody would have said, I don't know why you're living. And started that reflection in me 20 years earlier where I would say, why me? What am I? What's my purpose? What do you have in mind for me? I used to be the guy that not only was I right, but I would do everything in my power to prove to you just how right I was. I was argumentative. I'd argue over anything. Now, if that's what you want to believe, go ahead. I'm good with it. I just look back now and I look at all the times that I say, why? Why did you say me? I mean, when you look back, you could probably count, I can count a dozen or more times that I really should have died and didn't. And then I look back and say, well, how many other times do I not know about that something could have happened and didn't? And why? To let people know that, hey, it doesn't matter what your age is. It doesn't matter whether you lived in a Christian home from day one or whether you found Christ 50 years later. It's your time. And you start changing and you feel the change. When we first moved out here to Texas 2 years ago, the sign on Mountain Springs Church said Mountain Springs Baptist Church, and I'm like, I'm not going there. And it was like a week later, Bible Church. So when I came in and basically I heard, hey, we're studying the Bible. We're not a church, a denominational church. We're a Bible church. And then the other word, fellowship. I had a heart attack a year ago, and I didn't realize just in this small community I live in how quickly the news traveled. And when I had my heart attack, I had people come to the hospital, check on me. I had people calling to check on me. I never thought that would happen. For a lot of years, I didn't care what people thought. I was me. Whether I was right, wrong, or indifferent, it was me. It was all about me. Like I said, it was arrogant. And totally different now. I'm not the one running the show anymore. I mean, there are things in your daily life that you have to make decisions on, but I'm not in control. And it's the knowledge that you're not in control and knowing that and accepting it that's been the biggest difference. Keep your faith. And believe in it. I would probably tell her she's made me the happiest person that I've ever could have been. We've been through struggles, we've been through all sorts of things, but we've done it together. When financial burden on us that we thought we wouldn't be able to get through. We just looked at each other and said, it is what it is, she can't keep us apart. And that's just the way it's been. So she's been my joy, my inspiration,